Hi guys. I kind of also want to make some more like long form videos, like maybe tell you guys about my story or have like more coherent topic ideas. This is really just to incentivize me to actually start posting. Another thing is my roommate is moving in for today actually. So from here on out I'm going to have to figure out a different video setup. But let's go on to the diary entry. So Saturday, which means on the agenda is a nice morning walk with the farmer's market. I also have to drop off my key for my old place, and then I'm going to ride, and then I have afternoon chores. I'm not going to the gym. I've negotiated myself to like an at-home Pilates. I forget the YouTube channel name. I'll let you know in the description. I've been loving that, like Calisthenics. I always thought that was super cool, but yeah. So one topic I wanted to bring up today was actually related to something a little bit outside of the scope of normal content. Well, what is normal for here anyway, but it's about Jordan Peterson. I know he's controversial, but I think if you go back to especially his 2014 stuff and his lectures, those are phenomenal and fantastic. And his biblical lecture series, I think that's amazing. I know his politics are controversial, and that's not an endorsement for that. I have a lot of disagreements with him there, and I don't want to go into that. But I think him as a psychologist and a psychology professor, and also linking like myth and stories and fables with like philosophical ideas and psychological principles, that work is really truly excellent, and it's underappreciated, especially when he gets written off for just being some like right-wing crazy guy, which he definitely wasn't initially. And I don't know how much of this is just because he's received so much hate and backlash from people who should otherwise be his allies, but I don't want to get into all that. The important point is he's recently come out talking about Snow White, and oh my gosh, it is brilliantly insightful. He actually made a podcast video and, of course, YouTube video about that. I'll see whether I can link any of that in the description, but you should listen to it because it's a brilliant allegory for exactly what I fell into. Except he somehow construes like there's the evil queen and Snow White, and the evil queen is like mirror mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of all, and then it's like, oh, Snow White is, and the evil queen, she's so vain that she gives the poison apple to Snow White. We all know the story, but he basically construes this as the evil queen is ruining the innocence and the beauty and the health and vitality and ultimately the reproductive capability of the younger generation. I mean, he talks about this in a variety of ways and how it's like evolutionarily beneficial as well. The suppression of other female competition, what it actually is. He says it's like, oh, the evil queen is like the women who encourage young women to go into the workplace. No. The evil queen is like the Liv Schmidt Skinny Talk influencer who is ultimately jealous of the people who have this kind of innocent relationship with themselves, with their bodies, with food, with exercise, with all of these things, and ruin that innocence with the poison apple, which is like this whole idea of like self-consciousness. And it's really interesting because throughout the original fairy tale, he goes back through this. The evil queen gives Snow White like a comb, a corset. I mean, the true meaning of the allegory could not be staring him closer in the face. And this is actually one of Peterson's blind spots, I find. He's really excellent in general, but when it comes to understanding a lot of the mythos surrounding women and what that all means, I think he has a huge blind spot. This is not like shame on him. He's a man, of course. I think one of the things he actually points out is men and women are really, really fundamentally very different beings, and it's very hard for them, for him as a male psychologist, to really understand the evil queen and the Snow White dynamic in the context of like women and that sort of thing. But yeah, I definitely think I got evil queened into this whole eating disorder sort of thing. And of course also with fertility suppression, yeah, I totally lost my period and it's still gone, and I'm still working on getting that back very slowly. But yeah, so that is just one of the things I wanted to put out there. And I hope you guys see that as well. I was looking through the comments hoping someone else would pick up on that, but of course since his audience is like 99% male, no one would. Another thing I want to eventually go into is like my whole story, because I've had so many different iterations and versions. I think I wrote out like the progression of my ED, not in much detail. I think I'm much more of like an auditory speaky type of person, so when I write it feels like so much less gets articulated than what goes on in my head. But definitely the worst phase of this was night eating syndrome, and that was something I thought I would never ever get over, and it actually happened to me twice. Once really severely, the second time was much less severe, and I think that's the most urgent for me to post about if anyone's curious on how I got over that, because at the time that's the thing that I think I really needed the most help with, because it's literally like you can't stop. You cannot make yourself stop. Okay, I feel like I've ranted long enough for today. Yeah, I'll see what sort of setup I have for tomorrow, maybe in my car. I'm looking forward to today, and that's all. Take care.